Hi guys, welcome back to another Matchbox Garage video. I'm Rob, and today I'm going to take this very shabby Rolls-Royce and hopefully make it nice and shiny. Now, Rolls-Royce to me is one of two things: for the rich or for a wedding. So we'll start by the usual methods of drilling down the post, removing the flange and tapping the hole using my very handy vise. Not much of a roller, this roller. Having no wheels, I guess, is going to account for that. But I've already drilled the post here. I'm actually refraining from tapping it until I could kind of figure out what was going on. And actually on this occasion I found that the boot floor or the trunk floor is too thin for me to drill through it. Now I could just literally drill through and have the screw going into the boot, but no, I think I'm just going to put a little dab of glue here and keep it on tight. But she reads Matchbox Series number 24, Rolls-Royce Silver Shadow, made in England by Lesney. And as you can see, we're missing one axle and missing the tyres from the front wheels. So with the disassemble, we've got the retaining plastic part here, the interior, nice little detail in the seats, a bit dirty but in otherwise good, usable condition. And then the glass there, which is held in by a rivet, albeit didn't appear to require drilling out, so I just grabbed the screwdriver here and very carefully prise it off, and there we have it. The one thing that I've noticed on this car, which is unlike any of the others, is that it's closed on one side, but it's got an open window on the passenger side. This is a right-hand drive car, of course, being a British-made vehicle. And then the boot lid is kept in by some pins. I didn't want to remove that because I felt that I had to either break, cut or bend it in order to remove the boot, so just left it in situ during the paint removal and painting. Now if only my camera would focus, but the front part here, I think you should be able to just lift up this tab and it should pop right out. But I didn't want to force my screwdriver behind because it's quite delicate and would appear to break. But after a little bit of a play, I figured out that if I just take my drill, take the little heads off here, they're almost like little mini rivets, and she does just pop out. So nice detail in the front there with the grille, and you can see those little rivets just here and here, where I just took literally a millimetre away just to make it a lot easier for me. Now I'm just going to remove that axle as I just quickly jump to this shot, but now it's time to take off the paint. Hey, I'm British. We always got to have a cup of tea with everything, right? So some paint remover for this one, a little bit different to what I've been using recently with the caustic soda, mainly because I didn't have a glass tall enough to use the caustic soda. Although, actually, going forward, I did manage to buy some foot-long hot dogs, and I've got a great big jar. So, in future videos, you will see the caustic soda back again. But this, this still works. Just takes a little bit longer, that's all. And after a few minutes, give it a little bit of a bath. And I also use my fake Dremel tool and also a little bit of wire wool just to polish it up. And here's my tool here. Using my fine surface primer, Tamiya. Now I'm going to paint this in white, the actual final top coat. But I was watching a video recently which suggested to do the primer in grey. If I remember rightly, it was Marty's Matchbox Makeovers who was painting something white and suggested to use a grey primer, just so you know where or where not to paint, which I think is a good idea. I have used a white primer with a white coat before. I still managed to find where I should and shouldn't paint because I just aimed for the non-shiny bits, but I guess this does make it a little bit easier. So just a single coat of primer on both the base and the actual car itself. I always inspect everything just to make sure that everything has got good and equal coverage. And I also try to paint on the inside of the car, just so that, if you did look through the window, everything would be obviously colour coded. And as always, this came out great. So putting that to one side to dry, I'll work on the plastics now. Just a simple kind of dunk in warm water and a little bit of sugar soap. I'll give it a bit of a swirl around and I'll work over it with my paintbrush there, and in the same solution I'll drop the windscreen. And after a couple of minutes of just giving it a bit of a wash, I will give it another wash, but this time in a brown solution. So I'll literally add just a singular drop to some thinner and just roughly brush it on. And after a few minutes of drying, this is how she turns out. It just looks kind of natural or weathered, or I quite like the look of it. Certainly better than just a basic white. Could have gone and just painted it in a solid brown, but just felt this suited the car. And of course the windscreen, now that it's been cleaned, gets a similar treatment. Dipping it into my pledge, which I've decanted into another jar to make life easier for me. Certainly this is the way forward if you do this yourself. Just a hint though, don't use a pickle jar, because even a couple of weeks later, whenever I open this, the smell of pickles is still so strong. And this is how she turns out. Always looks lovely. The camera doesn't even pick it up because it's so crystal clear. Whilst putting that now to the one side to dry, I shall give my fake Dremel a go over at this. and you could see certainly a massive improvement to what it was. What I didn't want to do really was go over it in my chrome pen. I wanted the natural finish, and I was very happy with that. And then I just added a little bit of white just to kind of make the headlights pop a tad. And obviously, considering I was missing one set of wheels plus tyres, I used these wheels that I thought looked like modern Rolls-Royce stroke Bentley wheels from this, I don't know, Chinese dodgy car. But yeah, super happy with those. Here's the windscreen now it's dried. So with everything to one side, I'm going to paint the car now using this. Right, let me just see if I can pronounce it correct. I think it's Vallejo or Vallejo, one of those two. I'm getting there, I think. But what I did was I used obviously the white with no thinner, straight in the gun, and I added a few drops of gold. I kind of tried to get it almost creamy. To be honest, the gold that I put in there, I don't think made absolute any change or any difference in the paint whatsoever, which I was very surprised at, because usually with a white paint, you add just a drop, a singular drop of colour, and it will change it drastically. But certainly with the gold, I added a good amount. Still made no change. So there we are. This paint I'm still not convinced about. It's certainly a bit of a roller coaster ride with the different colours. Some of them come out really well, some of them don't. I learned today that this particular one, the Model Air, should be direct to airbrush, and my opinion is some of the colours work, like I say, some of them don't. But I'm told that I can add a drop of water to thin it slightly, so that's what I'll do in future. And you'll probably notice how close that I'm having to hold, or feel like that I need to hold, the airbrush to the actual model itself, probably an inch away, in order to actually reach the casting. And it was quite a dull finish, so I used the clear Tamiya here just to try and liven it up somewhat. And again, using alongside the X20A thinner, around a 50-50 ratio. I'm back to it, back to how I'm used to, with the paint kind of coming out at a certain volume that I'm used to also. But this is no exaggeration. I probably put 20 coats of this on the actual car itself, and didn't make too much of a difference really. Didn't really shine it up, even after around 20 coats of this stuff. So I don't know, maybe I'm doing something wrong there too. But then I remember another YouTuber, I think it was Time Rider, that mentioned that he would go over using the airbrush once that had dried. Felt that then switching to the aerosol may help it adhere, and certainly that could be the case, because once I'd sprayed this a few times, just it instantly improved things. It gave me the shine, the luster that I was looking for to start with. You can easily go over it, kind of put too much on here. It kind of almost bubbles up, or certainly runs, but you can see there, just kind of in the light, it's actually got a bit of shine now. So about around 24 hours later, she's nice and dry, and we'll go with the reassemble. So the glass pops back in, line the interior up, just sits in position there. Pop in the grill, and then I'll just grab my screwdriver to push down this tab just so that it doesn't come out. Needs a bit of force, I find. Whoops. Get that back in. And then I'm told off a few times by some watchers with putting the kind of casting upside down on my mat. So I always try now to make sure that I've got a cloth handy, so not to introduce any scratches into my freshly painted top there. Now these wheels, they did pop off, and I kind of trimmed down the axles to make it suit this car. I wish I had a load of these toy cars, because all of the wheels that I do have from it are really quite cool. It's a shame. It's a company that I've kind of investigated. I think it's a company in Hong Kong, but I wish they just done wheel packages. So we put the plastic retainer back here, just trying to figure out which way that it went. And last but not least, the base, but I shall refrain from showing you until the final reveal. So as a reminder, this is what she looked like, and the result. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm already married, and I was married in a Rolls-Royce, albeit a much older one. But if I was to get married again, this car can take me to the chapel. I'll be quite happy. Some extra details there now in the front indicators as well as the rear lights, but yeah, very cool. So I'll take this opportunity now to thank my one and only Patreon, Wills and Thangs. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you on the next one.